Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Belanger. Up next, Ravens and Chiefs. Let's talk. The Baltimore Ravens and Chiefs face off tomorrow at 4:25 in Kansas City. Both teams come in with the exact same record and the exact same position at the bottom of their respective divisions. And the question of the moment, of the week, of the year thus far is, will the real Ravens stand up? You see, coming into this season, with all of the things we had done in free agency, all of the things the Baltimore Ravens had done in the draft, we came in feeling really good about ourselves. We came in with our chests poked out a little bit, and we start believing our own hype. And I think that was what part of the Ravens' problem was coming into week number one. They believed the hype that was on paper, the hype that said they have one of the best rosters in the league, the hype that said this offense should be explosive, the hype that said that this defense should be locked down with the additions of Malachi Starks through the draft, Jair Alexander, a late free agency pickup, a Mike Green, a vicious outside linebacker who can explode off the edge. But what we've gotten thus far is not that much, especially on the defensive side of the ball. When you look over at the Kansas City Chiefs, nobody really speculated that they would be the top dogs of the AFC, but nobody put them down at the bottom either. Nobody would speculate that they would come into week number 4, 1-2. Nobody would have guessed that they would have one of the most anemic offenses in their history, specifically over the last 8 seasons under Patrick Mahomes, only averaging between 21 and 22 points. And so when we face off this Sunday, somebody's going to leave that game 2-2, and somebody's going to leave the game 1-3. Now, as a Baltimore Ravens fan, I hope it's us. I hope it is the Baltimore Ravens that leave 2-2. I hope this is a get-right game for the Baltimore Ravens. See, when everything's stacked against us, I haven't really seen the Ravens over the last couple of seasons really come out and fight, because we've been kind of running from the lead of the pack. Now, last year, the Baltimore Ravens had to play catch-up basically the entire season until they caught the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it was week 11 or 12 post the bye week when Pittsburgh started to collapse and Baltimore Ravens started to get it in gear, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The Baltimore Ravens indeed did start last year 0-2. Then they were 1-2. And then they were 2-2. So it seems that we have a little bit of history on our side, but there is another bit of history that leans heavily against us, and that's our history with the Kansas City Chiefs. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are the quarterbacks, of course, but Lamar Jackson doesn't face Patrick Mahomes, he faces the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't face Lamar Jackson, he faces the Baltimore Ravens. And for whatever the reason, Lamar Jackson is not always his best self when he faces this Chiefs team. Nor is Patrick Mahomes always elite, but he typically comes out with a win. That's the reason why the Baltimore Ravens are 1-5 over their last 6 matchups. The last 2 being losses, 2023-24 playoffs and last year's week number 1. So although we do have a little bit of history that's in our favor, we have a whole lot of history that is against us, because we will have to throw history out of the window. This season, that bodes in the Baltimore Ravens' favor. Maybe they get up for this Sunday's game. Maybe they come out at 4:25. Maybe they look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what, Ravens, you haven't played like a Raven. In fact, they don't even know what that means anymore. Because what we've seen from the Ravens, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, does not look like Ravens football. It looks like the Carolina Panthers. It looks like the Chicago Bears. It looks like the modern day New England Patriots. That's who we've looked like over the last couple of weeks defensively. Actually, this whole season defensively. And so maybe with the injuries to Meta BK and Calvin Noy, and maybe with some question marks around Travis Jones, and maybe with the question mark around Ronnie Stanley, maybe we will look ourselves square in the mirror and say, you know what, nobody's coming to save us. It has to be an all hands on deck. It can't just be Lamar Jackson put the cape on and lead us there. Will he be able to put the cape on Sunday? Sure he will. Sure, there'll be a time or 2 or 3 or 10 where he's running around and he's throwing the ball down the field. But that can't be the game plan to win. That cannot be the strategy or the scheme that gets us a W. What is going to earn the Baltimore Ravens a win on Sunday? What's going to get us a win is for us to look ourselves in the mirror and ask us. Nobody else can answer it for us. Ask us, ourselves, are we pretenders or are we contenders? And right now you have to reduce that contender status down to just for the AFC North. Because we can't talk about Super Bowl right now. It just has to be the AFC North. It just has to be, are we contenders amongst the upper echelon teams in this league? That's the question about contender versus pretender, because we faced off against 2 contending level teams, the Bills and the Detroit Lions, and we came out of that with no wins. So this is another opportunity to get right. Not a bounce back, but just to get right. And so the question I have for the Ravens is, what you gonna do? Are we gonna lean on the excuses of injuries? Are we gonna tuck our tail between the legs and pack it in for the season? Because I truly believe this is either a launching pad or a failure to launch for the season. This is a launching pad for the season, or it's going to be a failure to launch. If we don't get a win on Sunday, and this is not my keys to victory nor my prediction, but if we don't get a win on Sunday in Kansas City, I think it's going to be devastating for this team. You guys let me know what you want me to know. I'll be back in a little bit with keys to victory. I'm out.